Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and a subscriber asked a question that actually I get asked a lot, and I think I've only answered it maybe once in a Q&A before, but I think it's an interesting topic, and I think it's really strange that anyone would even ask this because the answer to me seems pretty obvious. But the question becomes, do people think Bruce Lee was natty? Was he on gear or anything? Well, we know he wasn't natty. Bruce Lee took anything and everything that he could find, that he felt, any herb, anything that he felt might enhance his performance as a martial artist in any way, whether his focus, his concentration, his speed, power, recovery. Bruce Lee was an extreme person. He did everything to the extreme. That's what made him so popular. That's what made him so famous. That's what made him so good as a martial artist. He was extreme, and a different type of extreme than a lot of other people. So again, he's just a very unique individual. But the thing is, people also need to realize, number one, anabolics were not demonized back then. They weren't demonized for almost another 20 years after this. No one cared that people use these things. They weren't illegal in the United States. They weren't outlawed. You couldn't get in trouble for having them or using them. You could go into a pharmacy and buy them. At the time that Bruce Lee was alive doing all this, you could walk in and buy these things, oftentimes without a prescription. It wasn't a big deal. They weren't demonized until pretty much around the 90s. The early 90s is when they became a massive international public deal with Lyle Alzado and all of that. And that might be worth covering also in another video. But they weren't demonized. They weren't considered a bad thing. We know that Bruce Lee was around a lot of other actors. He was an actor. We know a ton of muscular actors back then were already using them because of Reg Park and all these other people involved in Hollywood. They were all using them. Most Olympic athletes, at least the strength-based ones, and Bruce Lee was into weightlifting. He was into weightlifting. It was part of his training. Well, we know that the American, the Russian, and the Chinese Olympic lifting teams were all on anabolics by then. So Bruce Lee would have been exposed to them. He would have had access to them. He would have known they could enhance his speed and power from observing the Olympic lifters who used them, who were as explosive and powerful as you could possibly be. They weren't illegal. They weren't demonized. There was no social stigma against it. And he would have had access and known what they could do. Given his personality and the other things, it would seem obvious that he would have used them. And there was supposed allegations from some of his family after his death that he had admitted to using them. So when someone asked, do I think Bruce Lee had used them or was on them? Well, of course, why wouldn't he be? Everything that we know about him, we know about his exposure to them, his access to them, would suggest that he would. And since they were simply over-the-counter and legal and easily available at that time, it just seems likely that he would have. And again, given that some people who knew him had claimed that he had admitted to it, and again, keep in mind, this was back before they were demonized. It's not like that's a massive scandal. Like in the 70s or early 80s, for someone to have come out and said that is not even a scandal. It's not a big deal. That's only a scandal in today's world, not back then. So there's no reason to think that he didn't. All indications would be that he did. And you know what? That just is what it is. So when someone asks me, do I think Bruce Lee used them? Yeah, probably. Why wouldn't he have? All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.